Welcome to the Hoop Threads podcast. Here with a pretty special episode. Speaking with former Rutgers point guard Geo Baker. Geo, how we feeling today, man?
Yes, sir, man. Feeling good. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. So the basketball world's a small place sometimes. Interviewed Raja Bell a month or two ago during the summer. Um, Kind of got introduced to him through watching the game, and then spoke with his college teammate Gene Durkat quite a bit, and then spoke with him about you. Saw a clip on social media with you kind of speaking about the current state of the game. I was really interested, and then just got connected with you that way. So, really excited for this to kind of talk about your playing career as well as the post-playing career with the AAU program coming up, as well as
Yes,
the
sir.
training stuff. So really appreciate the time, man. So let's get into it. How did you get started in this game? Is there someone that kind of inspired kind of your journey?
Uh, oh man, yeah. I mean, I honestly haven't thought about it in a while, but I think I started playing basketball when I was like 7 years old. And the reason it started was I was an only child, and I had a next door neighbor who was an only child. And we kind of just whatever he did, I would want to do it too. He was older than me by like 2 or 3 years, and he was really into basketball. And we fought like brothers, so like I just naturally wanted to be better than him at basketball. He had a little hoop in the backyard that we would just go and just shoot and play one on one and go at it, and I would just lose over and over again. He was bigger than me, stronger than me, older than me. But that's really what got me into it. And it wasn't just basketball. We would compete in soccer, and he picked up lacrosse, and I bought a lacrosse stick the next day. And then basketball was kind of the thing that kind of kept going for me. But that's how it started, really.
Gotcha. What was the first age that you beat him?
Oh man, probably wasn't until like 14 maybe when I started really taking it serious. And he was still kind of serious at that point too, but you could see he was starting to lose interest in it a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but from like 7 to 13, I mean, I literally, I don't think I ever beat him.
Oh, I made it my mission to never let my brother win in anything. So
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah,
that
that, and
totally
that's
checks out.
and that's how we fought, man. It was
Yeah.
exactly like that.
Cool. So you kind of have an under the radar underdog type tale, originally from Derry, New Hampshire, which I've
Yep.
definitely never heard of before.
Right.
But talk about going from there to Proctor Academy and kind of playing as an under the radar kid, with all mid-major offers until, Rutgers got involved, playing with the DC Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. I think the main thing with all of that was it was like you said under the radar. I mean, starting out in Derry, New Hampshire, the guys that I looked up to were D3 basketball players. Those were the guys who were like the best in the area. Got really lucky in the fact that TJ Thompson, um, my mentor, my trainer, he's now a coach at Rutgers University, just happened to end up in Derry, New Hampshire. He actually got injured from playing overseas. His wife was from New Hampshire, and the place that he was doing PT happened to be in Derry. So I met TJ. Um, I met TJ while I was doing drills with my mom, like on a little like dark court, no lights on, and I'm having her stand on a chair with her hands up, and I'm throwing floaters over my mom, and TJ kind of just walks over and he's like, "I'll take it from here," and we kind of that's how we got connected, and he kind of showed me that there was more than D3 basketball, there was more than New Hampshire basketball. Fast forward a couple of years later, and I ended up at Proctor Academy, which played in a really good league. He played in the NEPSAC against Brewster Academy, Tilton, Phillips Exeter, different schools that are prestigious schools, Vermont Academy, the list goes on. But Proctor was never really that good, and we found a way to kind of win there too. So the story was just kind of always under the radar, chip on your shoulder, proving people wrong. And same thing in AAU. TJ ended up starting the AAU program, DC Blue Devils out of New Hampshire. I know it's a weird name. Um, and it was the same thing there. A bunch of guys that were from New Hampshire. Nobody really knew who we were. We had to go out and make a statement, and just find a way.
Mm. Shout out to mom for
Yeah.
standing on the
No, no,
chair with the
seriously,
broomstick.
man. She would do everything. Stand on a chair. She would drive me everywhere. She did a lot for me to start out, and then TJ kind of took over from there, and it was both of them played a huge part in everything.
Were you playing at Proctor Academy all 4 years? Did you transfer there?
I transferred there. So I actually went to three high schools. My freshman year, I was at a private school called Buckingham Brown and Nichols. It was a day school. At the time, I wasn't really sure, who I was as a basketball player. I was mainly there for academics. It was a really rigorous academic school, but the drive was just too much. It was in Cambridge, me being from New Hampshire, I mean, it ended up being like a 2 hour drive there and back with traffic.
Mm.
So it was just extremely tiring. And then also trying to take basketball serious at the same time. It was hard. Transferred to my public school for my sophomore year. We lost in the state championship my sophomore year. Really wanted to come back, but had to sit down with TJ and his wife, and they explained to me the benefits of going to a boarding school and playing in the NEPSAC, and the competition was way better, and the academics were better. There was just so many different things that were just pluses in that part. And then transfer over to Proctor Academy for my junior and senior year, and I finished out over there.
Talk about your progression. We kind of talked about the high school progression a little bit, but talk about the AAU progression, from middle school to 15s, 16s to 17s, kind of what that did for your confidence, kind of playing against, different players, I'm assuming from different areas and kind of getting
Yeah.
used to different styles and, growing, maturing as a floor general, but also as like a player.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I played for some pretty good teams when I was in middle school. I actually repeated my seventh grade year at Buckingham Brown and Nichols, that school I was talking about before. My first year in seventh grade, I played for a team called MABC, which was a really prominent program in Boston for middle school. I didn't play at all. Like I really got like no minutes, and that was really hard for me. It was tough. I remember getting in the car and just crying. I would try to never show it while I was on the court, but then as soon as I would get in the car, I mean, it was tough times. And I was just tiny. I mean, I was literally like 5 feet and probably like 60 pounds. Like I didn't weigh anything. Like it was bad. And I didn't deserve to play. I wasn't good enough yet, and ended up repeating seventh grade and played seventh grade again for AAU, became the starting point guard for that team. My confidence rose a lot. Um, just started to get better through repetition. So I think it was good for me to finally see the court. But I also thought it was good for me to be on that bench and kind of go through that and you know face reality that okay, I need to get a lot better. Eighth grade year ended up playing for BABC, which is was a very popular Nike sponsored UIBL team. I think they're Adidas now.
Mhm.
And that was another step up. And I was still playing. I was getting a lot of playing time. We were playing against better teams. Playing on that Nike circuit. So that was really good for me as well. The thing about BABC was that it was a system. So it was more like running plays and sets. And, I kind of turned into a robot in a way where, I wasn't really playing with a lot of freedom. Ended up switching programs to Expressions, another Nike UIBL team. They played with a lot more freedom. It was great. And then ended up, there was Tremont Waters, who was, basically an NBA prospect at the time, really good player. He was in my class. Marcus Zagrowski, he played at Creighton. His dad was the coach. And then there was a third point guard who ended up going D2. But at the time, he was just really good. And I think that the coach just kind of liked him more than he liked me at the point guard. So we're talking about 3 point guards that were above me kind of in the lineup. So, I kind of see the writing on the wall. Switched over to DC Blue Devils, and that was like the perfect fit. I was playing up a year, so I was playing 17s as a sophomore, complete freedom, and TJ really believed in me, which I think was the most important thing. So like when you talk about the progression, it felt like every year I kind of got a little bit more confident, and TJ like kind of pushed that over the top where it was like, look, you're the guy, you're playing up. I think you could do this with the basketball. Just everything that he kind of instilled like made a lot of sense to me as a player. And just kind of having that trust from your coach just makes you that much better, I think.
And kind of speaking to the influence the AAU coaches have, and I think a lot of people kind of degrade that profession as, guys that take money or in it for the wrong reasons, sleazy, whatever the case may be. You ended up at Rutgers because of that connection with Coach Thompson. Talk about that weekend, playing against the New Jersey Playaz and that kind of got you on people's radar, and then kind of how you ended up at Rutgers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, same story. Guys from New Hampshire were playing against the NJ Playaz, a Nike UIBL team. I'm a sophomore at the time. Didn't really have any. any looks or any love or anything like that. And we go up against the players in the semifinals of this hoop group tournament. And I mean, there's just a full baseline of coaches, two baselines of coaches, um, which we hadn't really seen yet. Being guys, being guys from New Hampshire. Um, and at the time, I wasn't even really thinking about like, damn, they're all here to watch them. Like it just, we were just like, we were in the moment with it, like, oh, this is dope. And we beat them. We beat the players in the semifinals. And then after that, I just remember, we used to ride a team van to all of our tournaments, to the tournament, to the hotel, wherever we were at. We were always together. And TJ's phone just wouldn't stop ringing. Like it was just coach after coach after coach. And, I would get an offer. Our big man, his name was Nate Knight. Um, he actually played in the league for a little bit. He went to William and Mary. He's playing overseas now. Best player I've ever played with. He got like 30 offers in one day. Like it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. And TJ's phone was just going off and off and off. And like every like 5 minutes, there was another tweet like William and Mary offers Nathan Knight, Stony Brook offers Nathan Knight, like just over and over again. And it was all of us. I mean, we're getting a lot of love. And I think that's kind of what set it off was we had to, we had that chip on our shoulder and we showed out against a team that people kind of already knew. And we got some love for it.
There you go. Talk about, ending up with Coach Pikiell at Rutgers.
Yeah, so Coach Pikiell kind of came into the fold a little bit later. My junior year, now we're a little bit more known. Um, TJ and Coach Pikiell already had that connection. So TJ actually played for Coach Pikes when he was an assistant at GW. So they kind of already knew each other. Coach Pikiell had just gotten the job at Rutgers. So he didn't really. Rutgers was not in a good place at all. I mean, they were like literally awful. Like one of the probably the worst Power Five job you could have taken at the time. Like they were that bad. Um, so Pikiell needed to take some chances too. Like big name guys weren't going to come to him. So TJ kind of called him and said, "Look, I have a kid for you. He's from New Hampshire. I think he could be really good. Nobody's recruiting him except mid majors." Pikes came to my game, and the first game he came to, I think I had like 34 or like 35. Like some, I just went off. I wasn't missing anything. I was, playing the right way, moving the ball, getting steals, getting rebounds. Like just did a little bit of everything, and got that offer right away, right after the first time he saw me, which was amazing. Um, and he actually was supposed to leave and go to like a Nike tournament. He ended up staying for the rest of the tournament just to watch me play. And again, this is like at a hoop group where he could be anywhere else. He could be at Nike YBL, he could be at Adidas, could be at Under Armour. He decided to stay at the hoop group tournament just to kind of follow our team play. A team for New Hampshire. So that was really special to me and it stood out right away. Like, oh damn, he's really serious about this. Like it's not just for show. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how that came about. And again, like that luck of just like being in the right place at the right time with TJ Thompson, where he walks in the gym in Derry, New Hampshire. Like TJ and Pikes had that connection for a long time, and that may have never came if all that didn't happen. It's
Shout
crazy.
out to you
It's crazy.
for performing under the microscope like that, man. I could tell you someone that works in this space when you tell a college coach about a kid and they ball out in the first time seeing them, it's the best feeling.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, yeah. I'm probably gonna go through it this year now too with the AAU team, so I'm excited for it.
Last question on, AAU stuff. What areas did you enjoy playing against the most when it, came to either high school basketball or AAU basketball? Is there certain hotbeds, like
Hmm.
Texas kids, DMV kids, Georgia, New York,
Yeah.
California?
I mean, definitely New York, New Jersey. And I think that's kind of like the area we played against the most.
Mm.
Um, we were on the hoop group circuit. We weren't really traveling too much. We did do a couple tournaments in Florida, but I wouldn't say any area really stood out down there. But playing against New York, New Jersey, you just knew you were going to go up against tough guards. Like it was always a tough and scrappy guard on the other side, and they were going to play hard. And they just had that competitive edge, and I felt like we had that too, and it kind of rose our level of play. So whenever we would go up against a team like that, you knew you were going to get their best shot, and you kind of had to bring your A game too. So that was always fun for me. I'm the ultimate competitor. Like I really hate to lose. So like whenever we would see that, it would just kind of get you going even more and make you play hard.
I guarantee you, if you ask Coach Pikiell, that's probably why he really liked you early on. It's not
Yeah,
really the skill stuff; it's that competitive edge.
for sure.
So talk about kind of arriving at Rutgers, playing pretty early and putting up consistent stats. Honestly, for all 5 years that you were there, from under 500 the first 2 years and then kind of flipping the switch and building some momentum that, they're taking advantage of to this day. Talk about your first 2 years, kind of what you learned and how you applied that, as a junior, senior, and then in your
Yeah.
sixth year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference between those first 2 years and then my junior, senior, and fifth year was just like learning how to win. Um, it's really hard to win in college basketball, and I think like unless you've been there, it's kind of hard to understand what I mean when I say that. But just having that experience under my belt and going through some of those close losses as a sophomore and being able to know like every possession is important, every defensive stop is important. Every time you communicate, you can save a basket or maybe you can get a basket. And then that's the difference between losing by one or winning by one. And just like little things like that, that as a freshman, you definitely don't understand. And as a sophomore, you're starting to get it, but you're still not there yet. Um, but for me personally, too, with stats, it goes back to like that trust. Like Coach Pikiell really trusted me from the jump, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And he allowed me to play through mistakes, and he allowed me to learn through it. And I think that's like something that a lot of kids um, take for granted. I think that there's a lot of kids who are chasing like these big name programs, and like I could have waited and said, you know what, Rutgers really isn't that good. And you know what, colleges were reaching out to me and saying, like sending me when they played against Rutgers, like we beat the shit out of Rutgers. Like, why did you want to go there? And like little things like that didn't really matter to me because it was about the fit and it was about the trust and it was about the relationship. And looking back throughout my whole career, Proctor Academy was like that. AAU was like that, and then Rutgers was the same exact thing. It was like, okay, it wasn't the sexiest thing in the world. Rutgers was awful, right? But I trusted Coach Pikiell, and he trusted me, and we built something from that. So I think that was like the biggest thing there for me personally was just that trust, that I was going to get better, and we were going to figure it out together.
Was there a turning point, maybe for you specifically or for the program in general during your time there that you felt that the tides kind of start to turn?
Oh man, turning point. I mean, I definitely started to feel the tide turning my sophomore year. I think we went 7-13 in conference play, but most of those wins were in the second half of the season. You could tell that we had really figured out a way to win in Big Ten play, and just everybody being on the same page. I don't know if there was really like a turning point for us, but
Mhm.
looking back, all the guys we all hated losing. Like, and we all understood that we had to do the little things, and we all understood that it was going to take all of us. And my freshman year and that first half of my sophomore year, you didn't get that sense. Like you didn't feel that. So I think that it just took time. It took time. Guys had to, experience losing. Guys had to go through those bumps. And then that second half of that sophomore year, we were a confident group. It was just kind of too late. It was too
Yeah.
late. We had already lost so many games. And then you get to the beginning of the junior year, same thing. Like we knew we were good. Like we came in confident every game versus before. It was like, are we good? Should we do this? Should we do that? Like, no, we knew exactly what we needed to do to win basketball games, and that just took time and experience.
Well, you're talking about, doing the little things that add up to winning. Like how much of that is pregame preparation versus execution on the court, and kind of what goes into that, pregame preparation as far as, film work, working on your body, any sort of like rehab or PT kind of maintenance of, ankle issues or just kind of nagging stuff as the season goes along. What would you tell like a young point guard is really important in that process?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's all details, I would say. So, when I think about the film work, um, are you able to pay attention and for a full hour of film and remember a play? Because the other team's going to call it a play, and then it's our job as defenders to immediately call out the play, and everyone should know exactly what it is right away. So just being so alert that you remember to play right away. To talk about taking care of your body. I was in treatment way more as a junior, senior, and fifth year than I was doing treatment my freshman and sophomore year. So, like you were saying, like the little things, I wasn't doing that as a freshman. I was going back and playing Fortnite versus like a junior. I'm making sure I'm in the training room for an hour and a half before the game, getting my ankles, warmed up, doing different things, stretching, all that different stuff. So that, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it. And then even just pregame speeches, like I think the leadership got better as we went on. So, it's me and Ron Harper Jr. and we're telling the team like, okay, we're going over the scouting report again, just real quick. Like, here's what this guy does, here's what that guy does. If there's a loose ball, we gotta be the first one on it. Everyone focus on rebounding, everyone focus on defense. The offense will come. You can't control it. Like little things like that. How we would speak to each other, not talking down on each other like, oh, don't do this. Like, no, next time we got you, or next time you got this. Little things, how you speak to your teammates was really important.
Mm.
So it was just so many different things that, again, as a young player, you probably don't think is that important. But then as you get older, you realize like, shit, this is the difference between winning by one, losing by one. And you always want to end up on that winning side. And then the ultimate goal is to, for guys to want to get drafted, or, to win an NCAA tournament, or to make the tournament. And I tell all my kids now, it's like, guys recruit winners. Like, this is what coaches are getting paid for. So I'm telling you all these little things matter, because this is the difference between you getting a scholarship and you not. Like, nobody's going to recruit you if we're losing every single game by 2 points. If we're winning every game by 2 points, now it's like, oh, they're doing something that results in winning, and that's what a coach is getting paid for.
Yeah, I think high school basketball players, there might be a little bit of a disconnect. They don't understand that, the
Yeah,
priority number one with college basketball coaches is winning games, because if they
winning
don't win
game.
games, they're not going to be there.
Yeah,
It's really as simple as that. Talk about your favorite uh well, actually, we'll get to that in a second. You played with both the Amrayuri brothers, as well as Ron Harper. You stayed with the Harpers. You told me during like that COVID season, kind of going into
yeah.
your junior year. Talk about those relationships that you built with those guys and how important that was to that team's success.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. The two guys with the last name Omarui actually aren't related, which is wild. I
Oh
never
wow.
thought I'd play with two guys with the same
Okay.
with that same last name that aren't related. So they're actually not related at all. But
Okay.
built a lot of good relationships there for sure. Me and Ron, I think our relationship was really special and it was important. We were the two leaders of the team. We were the two best players at the time. We were the two faces of the team too. So how we treated each other and how we treated our teammates was super important for the locker room. So I thought that was really good that we got a chance to stay together during COVID. Obviously, COVID itself wasn't the best, but getting a chance to stay at his house and compete with him during COVID, and also his little brother Dylan, who's obviously killing it at Rutgers now. I mean, that relationship is special. I mean, me and Ron still talk every day. He's doing his thing in the G League, and he actually just got a two-way contract with Detroit, which is awesome. So he's still grinding away right now, and then getting a chance to see Dylan. I mean, when I first met Dylan, he was like 11 or 12 years old, and seeing how he's grown up and how he's matured and how he's learned from what me and Ron did at Rutgers too. It's really special to see.
So this one might be difficult because it's more what they learned from their father, and I don't know what the relationship is like with their dad, but what kind of things did they pick up about being a professional, or habits, from a father who did play professional basketball at a high level for quite some time? Did you pick up anything from them in that sense?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I feel like I've picked up more from them now that I'm not playing.
Yeah.
For me, I was always bad at this. I was pretty bad about shot making, like dictate my energy.
Mm.
And I feel like I preach it so much now because I really realize like how much it held me back. And I feel like they're both very good about not doing that. So Ron always, he always played the same, no matter if he was making shots or missing shots. And I think Dylan kind of has that same energy too, where like no matter what, he's kind of always got that same like energy where he's just steady. So that's the main thing that I've seen from them, and that's a pro mentality. Like that is definitely like what pros preach, and it took me. I think like my fifth year was like the first year I did it better than I could have. Like, and even then it wasn't the best. So that's one thing that I love to preach now to the kids, because I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. And my coach would always say it to me, and I just couldn't really get over that hump. But seeing how they have always approached it, and I'm sure that is something that they've gotten from being around more pros than I was. That's the pro mentality. Is like, listen, your shot making really, you can't control it. Like, you can't, so it's either going in or it's not, but you still have to do everything else at a high level. So I always admired that about Ron, and then Dylan's doing the same thing now.
What was the toughest environment to play in? Big Ten is got some pretty crazy home environments. What was a
Yeah,
place that you really enjoyed playing in?
Purdue was the toughest for me. It was so loud. It was so loud. I mean, and they were just so connected too. Like, it just felt like everyone was on the same page in their crowd. I feel like the rack, like at Rutgers, is really loud, but it's like chaos. Like, nobody's really like, doing, like, you'll hear like three different chants at one time. Like, nobody has any idea what's going on, which is good in its own sense. But Purdue, like, it just felt like everyone was connected. It was loud. When they scored, like, it just felt like they would score again and again and again. And the next thing you know, you're down 25. We lost two games there. I think they were both by 30 plus, which was insane. And then, fast forward to junior year, we ended up beating them on their home court, which was really special too. But I always loved playing there because I just appreciated how tough they made it.
What was your favorite or, happiest memory on a basketball court? Didn't have to be at Rutgers, could be somewhere else.
Favorite memory on a basketball court. It's probably the Purdue game. It's probably the Purdue game. I think that's the happiest I've ever been after winning a game. It was junior year. It was our last game before COVID canceled everything.
Hmm.
It was our 20th win. Rutgers hadn't made the tournament in, I think it was 29 years or 30 years or something like that. I think it was 29 years. Um, so we were about to break the streak. Like, we were definitely in. We were on a roll. We had just beat Maryland at home, who was top 10 in the country right before that. And then you would go on the road. And again, like Purdue, like, I never expected to win at Purdue. Like, it was that hard to play in. We get there, we win that game. And I just remember being in the locker room. We're dumping, a jug of water on Coach Pikiell. Everyone's happy. Guys are on Instagram Live. I mean, it was the most connected, the most special feeling I've ever gotten on a basketball court. Um, and then it gets canceled, and then the tournament gets canceled. So, like, it's crazy how fast it kind of went away. But that was the most special moment for me. And then I'd say the close second would be when we won in the NCAA tournament against Clemson that was the first time in a long time that we won a game too. Um, but that was different because it was COVID. It was during COVID. There was like barely anyone in the crowd. It didn't feel the same as that Purdue game.
Hmm. Nah, man, it was crazy. I was coaching high school basketball at the time. I remember we were about to board the bus when everything got shut down. We were about to go play in a tournament. So it was
That's
it was a crazy time. It's that
it's,
chapter in the history books is going to be insane.
it's
Um,
insane.
So, after playing college basketball, being an all Big Ten point guard, you kind of started doing training, on the side just to make some extra cash, while you figured out your next move. Talk about, what made you fall in love with that profession. And then maybe some things that you've learned now as a trainer that you would have done differently when you started, as far as like your
Mm.
approach or different type of drills you would have done or not done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So started training pretty much. I think it was the summer after my fifth year, or maybe it was September after my fifth year, at Rutgers. Like you said, yeah, just started to kind of just get some extra cash on the side. I got really into business, so I started a NIL collective for Rutgers, the Knight Society. Um, and like I think every first time business owner, you think it's the greatest idea in the world and it's going to all go smooth. And, it wasn't going smooth at all. There was a lot of bumps in the road, that we were trying to figure out. So I wasn't really making any money. So that was where the idea of starting basketball training started. It was called GB Athletics when I first started it. It's called GB Go Beyond now. So it's already, kind of had its own little evolution. And I love it. Like, I really love it. I mean, I do training every day now. The kids, I think, it's what really just like motivates me. It's you see the passion and you see them like really trying to get better. And for me, it's like I was there. I was in that same exact position. I was that same sixth grader, like trying to learn. And I think about like how important it was that TJ came into my life. Like, TJ Thompson came into my life. It was the greatest thing for me. And now it's like, dang, like I could do the same thing for one of these kids. Like, even if I just do like half of what TJ did for me, like I think the kids will be in a lot better position. You know, he did that much for not just me, but for like a whole community of New Hampshire hoopers. Like when I say that all the kids that we looked up to in New Hampshire were all D3 players, and then if you look from the time TJ came to New Hampshire and stayed for however many years it was, I mean there was like 25 D1 kids or 20 D1. Like the numbers are crazy, and it's just because he had been there before, he had gone through those experiences, and he shared that with us. So for me, being in Central Jersey isn't really known for basketball in the same way that North Jersey and South Jersey are. Central Jersey is kind of like it kind of reminds me of New Hampshire in a way where like it's a lot of under recruited guys, under the radar guys, and most of it's just because they haven't gotten good teaching. They haven't learned from someone who has been in that position. So I want to be that guy, like, and I want to help them, and I want to, see them succeed, and that's kind of what just keeps me going. Is like I see them get better every single day, and they want to come back again and again and again, and it's just so fun, man. I truly love it. And then I guess what I would do different, I think when I first started, I was really focused on like the drill side of everything. I think now we pretty much have them like play at the end of every session, like making sure that they're getting up and down. Because some of these kids, um, aren't getting good coaching either when they're playing. So, trying to instill like different things like spacing and, knowing when to drive and knowing when to kick and, knowing when to read the help defense and little things like that. That's kind of hard to teach in just training. You can only really teach that as you see them play and, you try to help them adjust as they go. And I think when I first started, it was more just like kind of drill work and helping them with different skills. And that's part of the reason why I'm getting into coaching too. That's why I want to start my AU program is like I'm training some of these kids and I'm sending them to their coaches. It's like, it kind of all goes out the window right away. So that's another reason why I want to get into coaching now too.
Is that small sided games kind of half court, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, or is that, you want to get up and down? Are you breaking up like the action, every possession or saying, you got to start this with a side ball screen or a middle ball screen? What does that look like?
Both, definitely have done both, and really it kind of depends on gym space.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in getting up and down. We did that a lot when I was playing. It was if it was 1-on-1, it was full court 1-on-1, it was full court 2-on-2, full court 3-on-3. Because that's how it's going to be in a game. You're going to be running back and forth, and then we do some small sided stuff, or even just half court. If it's 5-on-5 half court, like you just said, we'll start with a ball screen, or we'll start with an away screen. Start maybe with, you hit the 5 and get into a zoom. And then we even do some stuff where you start with the defender behind the ball handler, and now it's like, reading rotations. And once the help comes, kick. And then now everyone's rotating on defense. So a lot of different things that we'll do there. But big believer in transition and trying to get a basket early in the shot clock. So that's definitely our philosophy.
Okay. Knowing what you know now about recruiting, exposure, etc., is there anything you would have done differently in your path to success as a prospect?
My path. Oof. I don't know. I was pretty crazy. I was pretty crazy. I think I maxed it out, man. I used to, me and my mom, I used to have my mom film my games. Like she would film my games. I would go into iMovie by myself and I would edit the tape. Like which was looking back, which actually was really good because I was watching film without realizing I was watching film. I mean, I was looking for the highlights, but as I was going through it, I would see what I would do wrong too.
Hmm.
But I was crazy. So I would go through, edit everything. I would put it out on YouTube. I would send it to people. Like I was doing everything. So I was a little bit of a psycho. I remember we like worked at a recruiting service, and the guy like kind of told my mom, he was like, "You guys probably don't need to do this. like he's gonna get recruited." Like they were like, "He's probably like our top prospect in this whole thing." Like so we were a little bit crazy, and that was a part of it we just didn't really know yet either. We weren't really sure how to go about it. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I would do anything different. And then, by my sophomore, junior year, I had TJ and he knew everything. Like he knew everybody. Every time we go to the gym, he's dapping up random college coaches and they're all, yo, you know how good this guy was when he played, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Like,
Yeah.
so he kind of knew everybody. And he knew what it took, like from a preparation standpoint in terms of skill work and playing. And he knew what it took in terms of like how to act on social media and how to act in public. Like, he made sure that we were on point with every single thing. Just being a good person, like not being an asshole on the bench, not being an asshole in the game, talking to the refs, little things like that. Um, he gave us all the secrets, so there wasn't really a lot that I think I would change really.
For a while, I feel like we've went, to point guards with, every college coach wants a point guard that's 6'4". Do you feel like we're circling back to, the 5'10", 5'11", 6'1" point guard that can really control, pace and, win you basketball games, or do you think we're still a couple of years away from that?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix. I just think coach, like we said it before, coaches want to win. Coaches want to win. So that's the biggest thing is if you can find that 5'10" guard that is just the complete leader and the complete winner, um, and everything they're doing is translating to winning, you got to take them. I think the biggest challenge is like as a high school coach or AU coach is like convincing that college coaches. I feel like people are so lost in, oh, is he's not tall enough, or he's not athletic enough, or whatever. And it's like, no, you got to go back to the basics and like this guy impacts winning, take him. And sometimes it's really just it's that simple. It's that simple. So I think it's probably like you said, we might be getting back to that. Guys are definitely still intrigued by the athleticism and the height and the wingspans. But I think time and time again that theory gets proven wrong somewhere in the NCAA tournament, or you see a mid-major guy who's just killing guys that are 5 inches taller than him. And that's for a reason. Those guys are winners.
What is the most undertaught skill in basketball, by high school coaches and maybe by trainers?
Under taught skill is teamwork considered a skill, like camaraderie? I think
It
is
might
that
be.
is that considered? I mean, it's crazy because you would think that would be the first thing that would be taught. I just feel like a lot of the teams that I've watched, you can tell that guys are not willing passers. Like they're not willing passers. Like you're seeing a lot of guys that are trying to get to a spot until like the only option they have left is to pass the ball. So I think like, and I don't know if that's passing. I think it's teamwork. I think it's literally teamwork and camaraderie, um, of like just understanding that passing because your teammate has the best option to score, like that means that you should do it. That means you should do it. And I think I see a lot of teams right now where that doesn't happen. I thought my AU team was great about that. We all shared the shit out of the basketball. Like there wasn't really a game where it was like one guy has like 30 every single time. Like it was no, it's this guy's day this day, and then it's this guy's day the other day. And it was special in that way where we just played the right way. And I think I don't see a lot of that anymore. And I feel like it's getting worse
Hmm.
as time goes on. And going back to what college coaches want, like they want guys who play the right way. They want guys that impact winning. And there's a lot of kids that I feel like don't understand that right now. And I don't think that's the kid's fault. I think there's a lot of coaches who just aren't holding kids accountable, and they're not teaching that teamwork aspect of the game.
This is an extremely loaded question, but would high school basketball be better without rankings?
Oh man. Ah, I don't know. I feel like rankings have been around forever. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to think back how I felt as a player. I feel like rankings kind of helped me. Like it made me a little bit more competitive. I mean, you don't want to compare yourself to other players, but it like it gave me a little bit of edge. Like when I was going up against a guy who was ranked, I was like, shit. Let me see what I can do. I think I could take this guy. So I think it adds a little fun to the game, and it adds that competitive spirit to the game. I think like you need a healthy dosage of rankings. Like if it gets to the point where, because I work with top 100 guys, and when you start getting caught up and like all the rankings change, I'm down 2 spots. It's like, dude, do you really like? Does it really matter? Does it really matter? And then once you get to college, you really realize like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the same playing field at that point. So I don't love the rankings, but at the same time, I don't think I would want them to just go away. I just think guys have to be mature enough to understand like this is some random guy who is putting a number next to my name, right? And I can't. I have to worry about myself, and am I better than myself from yesterday? And if I am, it's a good day. So that's how I would look at it.
It's more a read on stock is what I feel like I tell players.
Right.
I actually do it for prep hoops and like, but at
Yep.
the end of the day, there's guys that commit to D1 schools that, I have lower than, you know, at a lower level, that I think honestly, simply because I think there are some times when college coaches misevaluate guys or,
Yep.
take guys as a favor or whatever the case may be. Um, and I think it's really interesting for me. The rankings for me only allow me to see, all right, here's where you were wrong on this kid. Maybe here's a trend
Mm,
of like, I'm undervaluing scoring point guards. And
mm,
I need to stop doing that because there's college coaches that clearly value that. And maybe it's not
yeah.
my particular type of tea, I guess.
Yep.
But that shouldn't affect like my overall analysis. So it more like helps me evaluate down the line when I'm looking back at stuff. So that's what makes it interesting to me. When it gets into, my kid dropped 7 spots and he has been producing consistently, it's like, well, maybe I just had him too high before, and maybe there's
Yeah.
5 guys that, I haven't seen that, I saw and think he's better than him. It's not.
Yeah. Right.
I think it can be used to motivate for sure, and high school coaches do that all the time,
Yeah.
especially after I post team rankings. But I actually really enjoy it when, as an evaluator, when a player sees something that I write and they say, "All right, cool, bet."
Yeah.
Like I love
Exactly.
being proved wrong, and I don't think people understand that.
Yeah. I
Because
like what you said there too about like maybe you like it's not your cup of tea. I feel like I have definitely noticed that too as I'm looking at everything. And the kid Aiden Durkak is a perfect example. The kid that I work with, he is not my type of like player at all. Like I feel like I'm very like if you watch the way I play, it was a lot of like handle and wiggle and like creating space. And Aiden doesn't play like that at all. And I always tell him, me and him joke about it all the time. I'm like, dude, I hate your game. Like I hate your game. But he's a very good basketball player. And like one thing I always tell him, I'm like, he does all the winning things. Like he does all the winning things. He's good at passing, he's good at rebounding, and he finds a way to get baskets. And he has the IQ beyond his years by a lot, by a lot. And I had to like step back and be like, oh no, he is pretty good. Like, he is a pretty good basketball player, but he's not my type of basketball player at all. So I just thought it was cool that you said that too.
I mean, Aiden's one of my favorite basketball players to watch, and I think he's a bona fide high major kid that a
For
lot of
sure.
people are sleeping on right now, just because he's not the world's best shooter, and the handle is kind of mid. Maybe
Yep.
that's your fault, but
Yeah. Trying. Me
but
and him are in there every day trying.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think what separates him though is that mentality, and like
Yep.
that dog that he has in him, and honestly, that I've seen in the other 2 members of his family that played. So
Yep.
that doesn't surprise me at all. All right, we're gonna hit some quick hitters real quick, and then we'll get you out of here, man. Really appreciate the time.
For sure.
Um, this one's yeah, we're gonna have to fight to make this one quick. Like your State of the Union address on trainers, kind of what's good, what's bad, what would you like to see change? So maybe one for each of those.
What's good? What's bad? Oh man. I mean, what's good is, obviously the evolution of the game and skill development. I think that there's a lot of trainers out there that are teaching guys, how to be more skilled. But I think there's actually two parts to that, and the bad side is what we were talking about before. And what I realized was like it's too much. It's too much drill work and not enough of like competing and guys learning how to play the game. I think that there's a lot of people now who think that training is more important than playing, and there's not enough balance. So you're seeing a lot of kids like just parents ask me all the time like, oh, should I not play this year and just only train? And I'm like, no. Like, don't do that. And I would say the same thing for only playing. Like, no, don't only play. Like you do need to work on your skill work, and you need to learn how to move the right way, but you also need to learn how to read the game and play the game and understand how to play within a team environment. So that's probably the bad side of training is like it's great that you do all this skill work and it's really good, but then like you get these trainers who are like telling their kids like, oh, don't play, like just come to my training session. It's like, as a parent, I would hope that you would realize like, okay, this guy's getting paid to do this too. So you got to remember that. Like obviously he's going to tell you like keep coming to my training, come to my training, don't go play for this team
Yeah.
because my training is better. So you kind of have to notice that too. And then the other one is like Instagram trainers where you got these guys who haven't played basketball and they're trying to show you how to do a move. That one usually kind of irks me too. Um,
It's always carrying or traveling. That makes sense. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Invite three basketball minds to a dinner to chop it up with.
Ooh, probably Kobe Bryant. Um, do I want to say LeBron? Yeah, probably LeBron James. I think he's. I mean, you kind of see it on the podcast with him and JJ Redick. He's really really smart. I would definitely love to pick his brain on just how different things work.
Yeah.
Um, Probably Kyrie Irving. I think would be my last one. Kobe, LeBron, Kyrie. I think would be my three.
Gotta have a Jersey guy in there somewhere. Uh,
Yeah.
MJ or LeBron?
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan. It's crazy. I'm really not that big of a LeBron fan. I became more of a LeBron fan after watching his podcast with JJ Redick.
Okay.
I hate the way it goes back to like having Wiggle. I hate the way he plays. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. What book is a must read for any basketball coach? You big reader?
oh man, I'm honestly not a huge reader.
Okay.
Um,
All
trying to
good.
think. I'm trying to think if I got any off the top of my head. I don't think I have any off the top of my head.
Take a charge from Shaq or try to guard KD with the game on the line.
Garn KD. Yeah, I'm not taking no charge from Shaq. That's crazy.
Best basketball dynasty you've seen.
The Warriors, huge Warriors fan. Love Steph, love what he does. Yeah, definitely Warriors.
Who's an underrated Twitter follow?
Underrated Twitter follow. Oh man, I don't think I could think of any off the top of my head. I feel like I see a lot of random tweets from Hoop Herald. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've ever seen that
Yep.
page.
Yep.
Um, I feel like they always post a lot of like different sets that I kind of always try to like just steal and remember off the top of my head.
Great podcast or YouTube series.
Um, I mean, this isn't really basketball related, so I don't know if this counts. I'm a big fan of just like business minds, and I listen to the game by Alex Hormozy a lot, and I really like what he talks about in terms of like marketing and business.
What was the first time that you were in a room where you realized you don't know anything about basketball, comparatively speaking?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever felt that way.
Okay.
I
That's
mean, so I worked out. I got a chance to work out with Kyrie and his dad, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like seeing how Kyrie worked out and like the different things that he would do, just detail wise in terms of drills. And I felt like I learned a lot. I also felt like I also felt better about my understanding. Like I felt good. Like a lot of the stuff like I already thought was the case.
hmm.
It made me feel better about where my understanding was too.
What coaches or trainers do you study?
Coaches and trainers. Um, I mean, I learned from TJ Thompson, who I truly believe is was the best trainer in the world. I turned down offers from like other quote unquote big time trainers when I was doing well at Rutgers, because I wanted just to continue to work with TJ. Um, so everything that I preach, everything that I say is what he taught me. I mean, and I honestly, I thought that was another good thing for me growing up was I had one voice who like was everything for me. And I think there's a million ways to get good at basketball. There's a million ways to shoot a jump shot. There's a million ways to score and all these different things. I felt like because I had that one voice, he I got better because of it. So shout out TJ Thompson. That's my guy. Uh, he did everything for me for real.
There's a great Kyle Jacoby quote, who's a trainer in my area. He said, "If an athlete trains with me one time, I have no claim to their success. If an athlete trains with me 1,000 times, I still have no claim to that success." That's always the athlete's conclusion to make, not my own. Talk about real quick, like, not claiming athlete success, even though you are a part of their journey. What you learned about that?
Very, very true. And I think it's actually something too that I kind of wanted to work. I had to like work through a little bit when I first started training. it definitely is the athlete, and you could take two guys and you could teach them the exact same thing every single day, and one may just end up doing better than the other, and that I think that kind of helps you realize it too. Is like you play a small part in it, but there's definitely no claiming a kid, and these kids kind of decide that themselves. Um, but it was something that I kind of had to work through at first too, especially because it is, part of it is the business side of it where you're promoting and you're marketing and like you're showing what the kids are doing in the workouts. But the other side of it is like, no, it's all based on what the work that the kid puts in and the effort that the kid puts into it. Um, and it's a beautiful thing when they shout you out and they're saying like, oh, this is the guy that I've been working with, and this is the guy who's been helping me. But I also think once you do realize that, it becomes even more special where you're like this, like I get a chance to be around this special kid who wants to work with me every day. And that's always a really, really good feeling.
I think you'll learn too, after Aiden gets to college, and whether he hits the ground running in a certain area or struggles in a certain area. I think that'll help you kind of your process with, the next generation of athletes.
For
Real
sure.
quick, talk about your AAU program that you're starting, where it's based out of, the name, and what programs you're offering as far as age levels.
For sure. Yeah, I appreciate the question. I'm starting GB Blue Devils. I'm going to be based out of Central Jersey at a Manville High School. We're going to have two age groups, 15U and 16U. The reason for the name was the team that I played for was DC Blue Devils. So want to continue that culture, continue that brand, just continue to help kids the way that Blue Devils helped me and my teammates. And just really excited overall. I feel like we work with a lot of kids in training in those two age groups specifically. So, that was the reason why we wanted to start there, and just kind of expand that work that we're already doing with them in terms of skill development and, bring it to some games, bring it to some tournaments. We'll be playing on the hoop group circuit. We're playing some made hoops tournaments as well. I'm just really excited overall. We got a lot of kids who I think could be pretty good. So we're excited for it.
So this is kind of an adoptive area. You're not from there, but talk about what makes the Jersey area great, when it comes to
Yeah.
playing against teams and players from that area.
Yeah, I think Jersey guys got a lot of pride, which I think has always been impressive to me. Like being from New England and New Hampshire, there just wasn't that same like pride. Like, oh, I'm from New Hampshire. Like, doesn't ring the same when the guy's like, oh, I'm from Jersey. Like, so I think I always appreciated that pride. And then I'll go even a little bit deeper. Central Jersey itself, how I said I see it in that same light as how I kind of grew up was, under the radar, underdogs, that type of chip on your shoulder mentality. I think that a lot of the kids in Central Jersey have that same thing, which is really special to me. So I'm excited to kind of see that all come out for them.
Last question, man. Really appreciate the time today. What is your why? Why did you work so hard at the game as a player? Why do you put so much time into it now to give back? What is your why? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, I think it's changed over time. I think when it started, I just love competition. You think about how I started playing basketball. It really wasn't basketball itself. It was, wanting to compete with my next door neighbor. The guy I considered my brother, and it just kept rising and rising. There would always be a new challenge, and it was like I wanted to be the best. Like I really did. I wanted to be the best at basketball. You couldn't have told me otherwise. Like I was in sixth grade telling people I was going to the NBA. Like I couldn't help it, like, and it was just that competitive nature that, I think always kept me going. And then now, I think I realized, and I was always like this, and I didn't know it when I was a kid. I love teaching. Like I think I love passing on knowledge. When I was a kid, all of my friends were trying to make their AAU teams, and I was like leading training sessions, like with my friends, and I'm putting us all through the drills, and I'm like saying, oh, you should do it this way. You should, make this move. So I've always kind of been like that. And then now as an adult and I get a chance to be in this position. I just love teaching. I think that's really my why. I love seeing kids get better, improve. I love helping them through the struggles and when they're doing well and it's just a great feeling overall to know that I have some sort of impact on them and I can help them in that way.
Really appreciate the time today, Gio. And, if you haven't heard it recently, thank you for everything you do for the basketball community, in Jersey. And I'm sure that'll only expand with the GB Blue Devils. Thank you for the time today.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it.